What if everything you believe about your cat is wrong? The strange things they do every day aren't random. They're messages you've never learned to read. Over the next 2 hours, you'll uncover the hidden language of trust, fear, love, danger, and survival through the eyes of your cat.
When you first brought your cat home and looked into those big eyes, did you actually know what they were trying to say to you? Probably not. When you first brought your cat home and looked into those big eyes, did you actually know what they were trying to say to you? Probably not. Yes, they are absolutely adorable when they play. But behind that cute face, there is a highly complex feline language that most first-time owners completely miss. And here is the hard truth. If you constantly misunderstand their subtle signals, which almost everyone does at first, you could be slowly breaking their fragile trust. You might think you are showing them affection, but in their world, you are actually doing the exact opposite without even realizing it for a single moment. It is time to fix that. Let us start with the absolute biggest misunderstanding of all, the one that makes every new owner feel entirely rejected. 1. Their need for space is never a form of rejection. You bring them home expecting constant cuddles on the sofa, but instead, they sit quietly far away. You watch them sitting on the other side of the room, and you feel a wave of disappointment. You think to yourself, my new cat just hates me. That is not them being cold or unfriendly. That is actually the ultimate compliment. In the feline world, maintaining a calm distance is how they show secure attachment. Researchers at Oregon State University found that securely attached cats simply do not need constant physical contact to feel entirely safe and comfortable in their new environment. Just being in your presence, sharing the exact same room while doing their own thing, is more than enough to satisfy their deep need for social connection. They do not need to be held to feel loved. If your cat could magically put this quiet distance into human words, it would sound just like this. I feel so safe and I trust you so much that I am perfectly happy just to exist in the exact same room as you right now. And by the way, if your fiercely independent cat suddenly will not leave your side, do not brush it off. We will get into what that really means later. 2. That sudden bite was definitely not out of anger. You are gently petting them, they are purring loudly, and then out of nowhere, they bite your hand. You immediately pull back, feeling betrayed. But that is not aggression. That is simply overstimulation. A cat's hair follicles are incredibly sensitive to every single repeated human touch. The delicate hair follicles of a cat are incredibly sensitive to touch, and repeated stroking can suddenly turn from perfectly good to physically overwhelming in a single second. They probably gave you several subtle physical warnings right before they decided to bite, like a sharply twitching tail or slightly flattened ears pointing to the side. However, human eyes very often completely miss these tiny feline signals. We just keep petting them because we assume they are still enjoying the physical affection from us. So that sudden bite is absolutely not an act of aggression. It is simply their only remaining way to firmly say they need you to stop touching them. They still care about you deeply.
Sorry.
If your cat could clearly speak human words right after a sudden bite, they would tell you something exactly like this. I love you very much, but all of my sensitive senses are entirely overwhelmed right now, and I just need a quick, quiet break to calm down. And hey, if this is already lifting some of that new owner guilt, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more cat parents who deserve to know this. 3. They are not being stubborn when they furiously scratch your nice furniture. It is incredibly frustrating when they ruin a brand new sofa you just bought. You might shout and think they are doing it entirely on purpose to upset you, but that is definitely not an example of intentional bad feline behavior. That is actually a deeply ingrained survival instinct designed to mark their personal territory and make them feel completely safe and secure in your shared living space. Cats have special invisible scent glands located right in their front paws. Every single time they scratch a surface, they leave both a visual mark and a scent. That comforting scent acts as a clear signal to the feline brain. By scratching your favorite chair, they are literally writing their name on your shared belongings. They are deliberately blending their personal smell with yours to create a unified family scent. They are claiming you as an important part of their own family group. It is the biggest compliment they can give. If they could translate that destructive scratching into a human sentence, it would sound incredibly sweet and like this. This is my wonderful home, and I want the whole entire world to know that I proudly live here with you and that we belong together forever. 4. They literally do not understand punishment at all. When they knock a glass off the table and you shout loudly, you probably expect them to feel guilty. But the truth is they do not feel guilty. Guilt is an entirely human emotion. Instead, their highly alert feline brain simply links your loud shouting to immediate danger. They do not associate the intense yelling with a broken glass on the floor. In their mind, they just associate that sudden, terrifying noise directly with you. Punishing a cat does not fix the bad behavior. It only destroys their trust and makes them deeply fear the exact person they rely on the most. A feline brain is wired for survival, treating sudden loud noises as a predator threat. So when you yell, they see you as a predator attacking them. It is heartbreaking when you think about it from their perspective. If they could somehow explain their deep confusion to you, it would sound exactly like this. I do not understand what is happening right now. Why is my absolute favorite safe person in the entire world suddenly acting like a terrifying and unpredictable threat? Instead of shouting, simply redirect their energy with a toy or a scratching post. Positive reinforcement is the only language their feline brain truly understands and respects. 5. They are constantly talking to you without making a single sound. You might always wait around for them to meow just to show you some obvious affection, but their loudest and most sincere declaration of love is completely silent. It happens when your cat looks at you from across the room and squints slightly. Then they very slowly close and open their eyes. That is absolutely not them just falling asleep or feeling tired. That is a highly deliberate and complex social signal. A team of researchers at the University of Sussex recently proved that this exact slow blink is actually a cat equivalent of a genuine and warm human smile. In the wild, closing their eyes in the presence of another creature is extremely dangerous. Doing it around you means their guard is completely and totally down. They are showing ultimate vulnerability. If you could magically translate that beautiful slow blink into our human words, it would mean something incredibly sweet, just like this. I feel completely and utterly safe right here. Because you are here with me, I know that absolutely nothing bad is going to happen to me today. It might seem like a small, quiet gesture to you, but in the feline world, it is the absolute highest compliment they can ever give to a human being. 6.
I'm not sure.
This is the exact moment I promised you at the start of this video. Sudden changes in their behavior are never just a simple feline mood swing. If your fiercely independent cat suddenly will not leave your side, or your normally cuddly cat suddenly hides under the bed, do not ever just ignore it. That is not them being dramatic or annoying. In the wild, showing any signs of weakness or pain instantly makes a cat a target for larger predators. Veterinary researchers note that their deep evolutionary instinct is to always suffer in absolute silence and carefully hide their physical discomfort from everyone around them in the house. So a sudden, drastic change in their daily routine is very often the only clear clue they will ever give you that something is physically wrong with them. If they suddenly become clingy, it means they are feeling extremely vulnerable, and they are actively seeking out your protection because they feel completely safe with you. If they suddenly become clingy, it means they are feeling extremely vulnerable, and they are actively seeking out your protection because they feel completely safe with you. They cannot simply cry out or ask for a doctor. If they could magically ask you for help, it would sound incredibly heartbreaking, just exactly like this. I am hurting right now and I do not know what to do, but you are the only one in the entire world I trust enough to tell. If you ever notice this sudden change, please take them to a qualified veterinarian immediately. They are secretly relying entirely on you to protect and save them. Every single confusing thing they do, from scratching your sofa to silently blinking across the room, is a beautiful piece of a hidden and deeply loving language. They are definitely not just aloof roommates who only care about when their next meal is coming. That is a total myth that completely misunderstands true feline nature. They carefully chose you to be their family. They mark you as their own. They learn your daily routines, and they communicate with you every single day. So the very next time you look at your cat, please remember how much they truly depend on you for their emotional comfort and absolute physical safety. Because to them, you are never just an ordinary owner who feeds them. You are their ultimate protector, their chosen family, and their entire wonderful world. When you first brought your cat home and looked into those big eyes, did you actually know what they were trying to say? Probably not. Yes, they are absolutely adorable when they play. But behind that cute face, there is a highly complex feline language that most first-time owners completely miss. And here is the hard truth. If you constantly misunderstand their subtle signals, which almost everyone does at first, you could be slowly breaking their fragile trust. Punishing a cat does not fix the bad behavior. It only destroys their trust and makes them deeply fear the exact person they rely on the most. They are constantly talking to you without making a single sound. You might always wait around for them to meow just to show you some obvious affection. 1. It was never about staying warm. You might always wait around for them to meow to show obvious affection, assuming that is their only way of talking. You bring your hand down, expecting affection, but within seconds, they bite you or run away. Yes, it is adorable, but it is actually a crucial message. That is absolutely adorable when they play. But behind that cute face, you could be breaking their trust without even realizing it for a single moment. Because cats communicate subtly. 1. It was never about staying warm. You might always wait around for them to meow to show obvious affection, assuming that is their only way of talking. You watch them sitting on the other side of the room, and you feel a wave of disappointment. You think to yourself, my new cat just hates me. Just being in your presence, sharing the exact same room while doing their own thing, is more than enough to satisfy their deep need for social connection. They do not need to be held to feel loved. If your cat could magically put this quiet distance into human words, it would sound just like this. And by the way, if your fierce cat suddenly demands constant touch, do not brush it off. We will reveal the hidden meaning at the end of the video. 2. The fluffy belly is almost always a silent, confusing sensory trap, not a love button. They lie on their back, innocently exposing that inviting stomach. You assume they want a belly rub, which is a dangerous misunderstanding of their wild biology. For any cat, the belly is the most vulnerable spot on their entire body. In a wild cat's brain, it is the #1 area to protect at all costs, because all their vital organs are completely exposed right there. When you reach out and touch it, their deepest survival instinct kicks in immediately. They are not being mean to you. They are simply defending their life. If your cat could magically translate this defensive reflex into human words, it would sound just like this. Why are you touching my absolute weakest spot? Instead of falling for the belly trap, stick to the areas where they actually enjoy your gentle touch, like right behind the ears or under the chin. Touching those specific safe spots releases positive endorphins in their brain and actively builds a deep, unbreakable trust between you and your beloved feline friend every day. But even if you carefully pick the absolutely right spot to pet, you might still be doing the physical motion completely wrong without even realizing it. And hey, if this video is already lifting some of that new owner guilt, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more owners who deserve to know. 3. They absolutely hate it when you enthusiastically pet them, going against the natural grain of their beautiful fur. This is a very common daily mistake. You might think a vigorous back-and-forth ruffle is a really fun way to play together, exactly like you would traditionally do with a dog. That is actually a huge mistake. Every single cat has extremely sensitive sensory receptors located deep within their individual hair follicles, all over their small, graceful body. These special sensors send constant, intense messages straight to the feline brain about their immediate environment, tracking every single tiny shift in the air around them. Researchers at Nottingham Trent University note that petting them the wrong way physically triggers a highly irritating and stressful signal across their entire sensitive skin surface. It is definitely not just mildly annoying to them. It actually feels like a horrible static shock that they simply cannot escape from, no matter what. If they could speak human words, they would desperately tell you this. Please stop right now. This intense sensation is extremely uncomfortable for my fragile skin. Always remember to pet a cat gently from head to tail, carefully following the exact direction their beautiful fur is naturally meant to grow every time. 4. That sudden aggressive bite was definitely not actually an act of real aggression. You were just having a peaceful, quiet bonding moment on the sofa together. So why did they suddenly turn around and attack your hand out of nowhere? Most new owners take this incredibly personally, thinking their cat is just mean. They assume their feline friend is completely unpredictable or secretly hates them. But researchers studying applied animal behavior science have a specific name for this exact interaction. It is a very common biological response known as petting-induced overstimulation. Their highly sensitive senses have simply received way too many intense touch signals at once. In a single second, that enjoyable physical sensation quickly crosses a biological threshold, turning warm pleasure into real physical discomfort that they simply cannot handle anymore. They almost always give you subtle warning signs before biting, like a sharply twitching tail or flattened ears. But human eyes very often miss these signs completely. If your overwhelmed cat could speak human words, they would urgently tell you this. Thank you, but my body is overloaded and I must stop right now. Always watch their tail carefully. If it starts twitching sharply while you are petting them, simply pull your gentle hand away immediately to give them safe space. 5. Their loudest and most profound hidden love signals are completely silent declarations. You might constantly wait around for them to meow loudly just for your attention. You might expect them to aggressively rub against your leg just to show obvious affection, exactly like a happy dog would do when you return home daily. So when they sit quietly across the room, doing absolutely nothing, you probably assume they are just ignoring you entirely or feeling totally indifferent to your presence. That is a huge misunderstanding. Felines are absolute masters of subtle and silent communication, using tiny body language shifts that busy human eyes constantly miss every day. A fascinating study from the University of Sussex proved that their absolute strongest signal of true love and devotion is actually just a simple, slow eye blink. When they look at you from afar and slowly close their beautiful eyes, they are actively showing their ultimate physical vulnerability and deep trust in your protection. If you could magically translate that silent feline blink into spoken human words, it means exactly this. I feel completely safe right here because you are here. Always remember to return the favor gently. When they slow blink at you, simply blink back slowly to tell them that you love and protect them too. 6. This is the crucial moment I promised you at the very start of this video. Sudden behavioral changes are never just a simple feline mood swing. If your fierce, independent cat suddenly will not leave your side, demanding constant physical touch, please do not ever ignore it or just think it is cute. In the harsh wild, showing any physical pain makes a cat an immediate and easy target for larger, dangerous predators actively hunting in the exact same area. Because of this, their deepest evolutionary instinct is to always suffer in absolute silence, actively hiding their physical weakness from everyone around them every single day. So when they suddenly break that survival rule and actively seek you out for comfort, they are doing something incredibly brave and completely against their nature. That sudden, desperate need for contact is their only remaining way to plead for your attention and ask for medical help, because they cannot speak words. Veterinary behaviorists strongly advise that any sudden shift to extreme clinginess is very often the very first silent symptom of underlying physical pain or hidden medical distress. If you ever notice this unusual behavioral change, please take them to a qualified veterinarian immediately to thoroughly check for any hidden health issues they are masking. If they could magically translate this desperate clinging into spoken human words, it would sound just like this. I am hurting, and I really need you now. They are secretly relying entirely on your loving help to save them, breaking their own wild instincts just to ask you for the protection they desperately need. This is exactly why understanding their subtle physical boundaries and unique silent language is so incredibly important for every single loving cat owner to learn and practice. Because when you finally stop trying to pet them exactly like a typical dog, you will discover a completely different, much deeper kind of trusting feline love. They might not always want to be held tightly, and they might hate having their belly touched, but they specifically chose you to be their safe place. To them, you are never just an ordinary human owner. You are their trusted protector, and your gentle, respectful hand is their entire, wonderful, safe little world. When you clean your house to make it perfect for your cat, do you actually know what you are doing to them? Yes, it looks spotless and smells amazing, but behind that fresh citrus scent, there is an invisible stress that most owners completely miss. You might think your cat loves a perfectly hygienic home just as much, and if you misunderstand this hidden danger, you could be accidentally destroying the very trust you have spent years building with your feline best friend without even realizing it. They rely on their environment to feel secure. Changing it too drastically can make them feel like a stranger. You could be missing their subtle cries for help every day. It is time to look at your cleaning habits from their perspective. Let us start with what that fresh pine smell really means to their highly sensitive nose. 1. It was never about being antisocial. You plug in a new essential oil diffuser or mop the floor with pine cleaner, and suddenly your cat leaves the room entirely. You might watch them walk away and think they just want to be alone for a while. You assume they are just being an independent and distant pet. They do not. The truth is something entirely different. Their sense of smell is 14 times stronger than yours. What smells like a mild lemon breeze to you feels like a chemical storm. Volatile organic compounds from artificial fragrances do not just smell strong to them. Animal behaviorists explain that these chemicals actually cause physical discomfort in their tiny upper respiratory tract. They are not walking away because they are tired of your company. They are leaving because their delicate sensory system is completely overwhelmed and they need immediate relief. This breaks their heart just as much as yours. If they could put it into words, it would sound like this. I want to be near you right now. I really do want to sit on your lap. But the air in this room hurts my nose and I cannot breathe safely. Please turn that strong smell off. And by the way, if your cat ever acts distant right after you clean, do not brush it off. We will get into what that really means at the end. 2. The invisible wall you built between you and them. You take a shower and cover yourself in strong perfumes or lotions, thinking you smell absolutely great for the day. But your cat approaches you, gives your hand a quick sniff, and then quickly backs away with a strange look on their face. That is not them judging your taste. Cats actually rely on a special tool called the Jacobson organ to process complex scents in their environment. It helps them read the story of who you really are. Heavy artificial chemicals and strong floral lotions completely overload this tiny organ. It effectively makes them nose blind to all the subtle, natural scents they desperately want. They are not backing away because they do not love you. They are backing away because you have completely masked the safe, natural scent they rely on daily. This creates a heartbreaking, invisible wall between you and your cat. If they could look up and speak to you right now, it would sound a lot like this. Your real scent is completely hidden behind this loud chemical smell. I cannot read your invisible signals, and I honestly do not know who you are right now. Please wash this strong smell off your skin so I can finally find my favorite human again. I just want to feel safe when I sit in your lap. If you are realizing you might have made some of these indoor cat mistakes, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more owners who want to do right. 3. Why they hide in your dirty laundry. Have you ever noticed your cat completely ignoring their expensive clean bed just to sleep on your sweaty gym shirt? You might look at them buried in your laundry basket and think they are just being completely weird and gross. They are not doing this to annoy you. Researchers at Oregon State University have shown something fascinating about this. They discovered that cats form incredibly deep emotional attachments based entirely on long-term olfactory memory. Your unwashed clothes are heavily soaked in your unique, natural scent. To their sensitive nose, your dirty laundry smells like comfort, security, and the feeling of being completely protected. When the rest of your home suddenly smells like harsh floor cleaners and strong detergents, that messy laundry basket essentially becomes an emotional life raft for your cat. They climb into your shirts because they are desperate for familiar territory. If they could explain this strange sleeping habit to you, it would sound something like this. The rest of the house smells sharp and scary right now. This pile of shirts is the very last place that still smells like my warm and safe family. Please do not wash these clothes just yet. I really need to sleep here until all those scary, sharp smells in the living room finally fade away completely. 4. The punishment of a perfectly clean floor. You thoroughly scrub the baseboards and heavily wash the corners of the walls to keep everything perfectly hygienic and safe. 4. The punishment of a perfectly clean floor. You thoroughly scrub the baseboards and heavily wash the corners of the walls to keep everything perfectly hygienic and safe. You truly think you are being a great owner by providing a spotless environment. But to your cat, you just burn down their carefully drawn map of safety. Cats constantly rub their furry cheeks on your furniture and doorways to leave behind special facial pheromones. These marks act like completely invisible and comforting sticky notes. Those tiny chemical notes quietly say, "This specific area is safe, and I belong here." But then you wipe them all away with strong bleach or chemical cleaners. By doing that, you essentially erase their entire sense of security in a single instant. They wake up and find all their important safe marks totally gone. That perfectly scrubbed living room floor does not feel pleasantly clean to them. It feels like waking up in a completely unfamiliar house where they do not belong. If they could look up from that spotless floor and speak directly to you, it would sound like this. My comforting safe marks are completely gone today. I cannot find any of the reassuring invisible signs that tell me I live here. I honestly feel like a complete stranger in my own home right now. 5. The truth behind the sudden bites. Sometimes you casually sit down in your freshly cleaned living room and warmly reach out to pet your cat very gently. And almost out of nowhere, they suddenly swat at your hand or aggressively bite you. You might immediately think they are just being mean or unpredictable today. They are definitely not. Living in an indoor environment completely stripped of their comforting pheromones and flooded with harsh artificial scents causes severe, chronic, low-level stress. This constant sensory overload puts their tiny and sensitive nervous system on extreme high alert all day. They are not actually angry at you for touching them. Your gentle hand reaching out is simply the breaking point for a little feline brain that is already totally exhausted from processing all those overwhelming artificial smells. When they suddenly bite or aggressively swat at you, they are just desperately begging for a sensory break. If they could explain this sudden aggressive behavior to you, it would sound exactly like this. My delicate senses are absolutely screaming at me right now. I am way too overwhelmed to be touched or comfortably held today. So the next time they react aggressively after you clean, please do not punish them. They simply need a quiet, safe space to let their tired senses recover. 6. Rebuilding the pack scent. This is the exact moment I promised to explain at the very beginning. And it is something every cat owner really needs to understand. Why does a perfectly spotless house make your cat suddenly less affectionate towards you? The answer actually goes back thousands of years to their wild feline ancestors. In the wild, cats living in a close family group constantly rub against each other to create a very specific shared communal scent through a process called allo-rubbing. That specific shared scent is the ultimate invisible security blanket. It is the only thing that truly tells them they belong together with their beloved family members. When you aggressively scrub the house and use heavy artificial fragrances, you completely destroy that communal scent profile. You wipe away the very thing holding your bond together. Without realizing it, you accidentally tell them that they no longer belong to your family pack. But thankfully, you can easily fix this broken bond starting today. First, stop using harsh essential oils or strong chemical sprays in the living spaces where your feline best friend spends most of their time relaxing. Switch to unscented, natural pet-safe cleaners whenever possible. This simple and cheap change will immediately lower their daily stress levels and help them breathe much easier. And most importantly, let them patiently rub their furry cheeks all over your wooden furniture and your hands just as often as they possibly want to. When they do this, they are not just being itchy or weird. They are literally trying to write their family name right next to yours on the wall. Every single time they gently press their head against your shin, they are proudly claiming you as their absolute favorite and safest family member in the world. Because to you, taking an hour on a Sunday afternoon to deeply wipe down the floors and spray some fresh perfume is just keeping a nice clean house. But to them, this small confined indoor space is their entire universe. They do not have the outside world, so they rely entirely on this home to feel secure. And in that tiny universe, your messy, unwashed, completely natural human scent is the only thing that truly makes them feel like they are safely at home. When your cat sits across the room and stares at you in complete silence, do you actually know what is going through their tiny mind? Yes, it can feel a bit unnerving or even creepy. But behind that intense, focused gaze, there is something profoundly beautiful that most people completely miss. And if you misunderstand this behavior, which most owners easily do, you could be misreading the absolute deepest compliments your cat is actively trying to give you. We often wrongly assume they are silently judging us or plotting against us. But the scientific reality of feline vision and cognition is so much sweeter than that. Let us start right now with what they actually see when they look your way and why they choose to treat you so differently from everything else. 1. They do not realize you are a completely different species. When they look up at you, they do not see a regular human being at all. We naturally like to think they understand that we are their human caregivers. We assume they know we belong to a completely separate and much larger species. But their brains simply do not process us that way. To them, the boundaries between a human and a feline just do not exist in their daily lives. According to research by biologist John Bradshaw, cats treat us exactly like they treat other, much larger, non-hostile cats within their own familiar social circles. They happily rub against your legs, raise their tails, and groom your skin. These are highly intimate social behaviors reserved exclusively for their own feline kind. They are not trying to figure out what you are. They already decided long ago. If they could put it into words, it would sound exactly like this. You are just a very big, very clumsy cat in my eyes. You are terrible at hunting, but I deeply accept you and I love you anyway. And by the way, sometimes they stare at you in the dead of night when you are fast asleep. We will get into what that spooky behavior really means later. 2. Your face is basically a blur to them. We humans rely heavily on facial expressions, so we naturally assume our lovely cats do the exact same thing. You might think they are admiring your bright smile or reading your emotions by looking closely at your eyes. But that is simply not how their vision works. Anything closer than a foot or further than 20 feet is quite blurry to them. They simply do not recognize the specific details of your eyes or your nose. Instead, they clearly see your overall outline. They completely memorize the unique way you walk and move around the living room every single day of their life. They rely heavily on your specific personal scent and the comforting tone of your voice to confirm that you are indeed their favorite person in the world. If they could ever speak our human language, they would look right at you and say exactly this. I do not need to see your features clearly. My little heart and my sharp senses know exactly who you are the very moment you enter the room, and that is more than enough for me. And hey, if this is already lifting some of that indoor cat owner guilt off your shoulders, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more owners together. 3. The slow blink is actually a sign of complete surrender. When they look at you and slowly close their eyes, they are not just feeling tired. This is a deliberate and highly calculated social signal. Researchers at the University of Sussex proved that this slow blinking is the feline equivalent of a genuine smile. In the unforgiving wild, closing your eyes in the presence of a much larger predator is an extremely dangerous and foolish thing for any animal to do. So when your little cat intentionally does it while looking directly at you, it is the ultimate display of vulnerability. They are choosing to trust you completely. They are essentially telling you this deep secret. I am lowering my natural weapons, and I am choosing to drop my guard when I am around you. I trust you entirely, and I deeply know you will never use this brief moment of blindness to hurt me. Now let us talk about eye contact. 4. Breaking direct eye contact can be incredibly polite. We humans usually think that staring deeply into someone else's eyes is a strong sign of true affection. But for our cats, a prolonged and unblinking stare is almost always perceived as a direct threat or a physical challenge in their complex, natural animal world. So if your cat looks at you and then deliberately turns their head away, do not feel rejected. That is not an insult or a cold shoulder. In the feline world, showing your back or turning your gaze is actually the highest form of feline politeness. They are intentionally and actively diffusing tension. If they could translate this physical movement into our human words, they would be saying exactly this. I respect you far too much to ever challenge you. We are at peace with each other in this house. Please do not force me to stare back at you, because that makes me feel very uncomfortable. 5. Following your every single step is entirely about establishing a secure base. You might often catch them staring intensely at you from the bathroom doorway, or perhaps you always find them watching you quietly from the top of the stairs. This is not just them being nosy or trying to trip you. A landmark study from Oregon State University showed that domestic cats form incredibly secure attachments to their owners, much like the bond seen in human babies. You literally act as their primary secure base. They constantly monitor your specific location in the house just to ensure their little world remains perfectly stable. They are not trying to invade your personal privacy at all. They just really want to say this one beautiful thing to you every single day. As long as I can clearly see you, I know that I am entirely safe. You are the strongest and most comforting anchor in my life. 6. The midnight stare is actually a crucial guard duty. This is the exact moment that I promised you at the start of this video today. And it is something every single cat owner really needs to understand. Waking up suddenly to find your cat staring directly at your face in the dark. Yes, it can absolutely feel like a scene out of a horror movie. But the biological reality behind it is the exact opposite of being creepy. In the unforgiving wild, sleep is by far the most vulnerable time for any animal. When you close your eyes, you are completely defenseless against predators. By choosing to stay awake and fiercely watch over you while you rest, they are actually performing a deeply ingrained and ancient pack behavior right now. They are voluntarily standing guard. They are actively protecting their most valuable family member during the exact hours when you physically cannot protect yourself anymore. They do not see a predator lurking in the shadows, but their ancient instincts tell them that the darkness is full of potential threats to your shared territory. By sitting completely still and scanning the dark room, they are creating an invisible shield around your bed, ensuring that absolutely nothing approaches you while you are asleep. If they had a voice, they would gently whisper this into the quiet night. Sleep peacefully and do not worry about the dark. I will watch over us. I know that you are clumsy in the dark and cannot hear as well as I do. So I am taking over the night shift for our family. This behavior was never about a cat just staring blankly at a boring bedroom wall. It was never about them judging you or secretly plotting against you tonight. It is an ancient, beautiful display of devotion. We often think of ourselves as their protectors, the ones who provide the house and carefully fill the food bowls. But in their brilliant little feline minds, That protection is completely mutual. When they look at you, they see an invaluable member of their own small, tight-knit family. Every single slow blink you receive from across the living room is a calculated act of lowering their natural defenses and inviting you into their safe personal space. Every time they politely turn their head away instead of staring you down, they are actively choosing peace and showing deep respect for your presence in the room. And every silent, unblinking watch in the dead of night is a fearless commitment to keeping you completely safe when you are at your absolute most vulnerable state. They have memorized your silhouette, your unique scent, and the comforting rhythm of your footsteps. They have mapped their entire existence around the specific routines you both share. They do not just tolerate living in your house. They actively choose to bond with you, treating you exactly like the most important cat in their entire world. So the next time your cat locks eyes with you from across the room, remember that they are not looking at a separate, strange, or fundamentally different species. They are looking at the exact center of their universe. In their bright, observant eyes, you are not just a random human roommate who occasionally opens the door. You are their entire world. You are their ultimate safety. You are their family, today, tomorrow, and for every single day of their beautiful little feline life with you.
When your cat suddenly vanishes into thin air and you cannot find them anywhere in the house, do you actually know what they are trying to say? Most owners feel a sudden sting of rejection or panic when they stare into a dark closet and see two glowing eyes refusing to come out into the light. But behind that sudden disappearance, there is something much deeper that most people completely miss, no matter how much they truly love and care for their feline companion. And if you misunderstand this, which many devoted owners do, you could be missing a profound message of trust they have been trying to send you for years. Let us start with what that vanishing act really means for your relationship. The truth might completely change how you see your best friend forever. 1. They are not ignoring you. Have you ever called their name over and over, gently shaking their favorite treat bag, only to find them tucked deep under the bed? They completely ignore your calls. It is incredibly easy to think they are just being stubborn or that they do not want to be around you. But that is not stubbornness. That is emotional regulation. Cats absorb the emotional and physical energy of the house like a sponge, taking in every single little sound. When the environment gets too chaotic, they need a way to decompress. A study published by Stella and colleagues in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science in 2013 demonstrated that access to a safe hiding spot is a crucial coping mechanism that physically and measurably lowers a domestic cat's circulating stress hormones during very chaotic times. They are not withdrawing their love from you. They are simply pressing the pause button. If they could put it into words, it would sound exactly like this. The world is too loud right now. I need a moment to breathe in the dark, so I can be my absolute best self for you later on. And by the way, if your cat ever runs to hide when strangers arrive, do not pull them out. We will get into why that shatters trust later. 2. It is an ancient bodyguard instinct. Sometimes a cat hides not because of noise, but because they feel slightly unwell or physically vulnerable on that particular day. You might feel hurt that they do not come to you for comfort when they are sick, but they are not hiding from you. They are protecting you. Feline expert Dr. John Bradshaw explained in his book Cat Sense that domestic cats still retain the deep, wild survival instincts of their distant ancestors even today. In the wild, a sick or physically vulnerable animal quickly attracts dangerous predators. Your cat knows this, so they instinctively remove themselves from the center of the territory, and the center of the territory is wherever you are. By hiding away in a dark corner, your feline is instinctively trying to draw potential danger away. They are moving the target away from the den to keep you safe. This is not them being antisocial or rejecting your loving attempts to comfort them. This is sheer self-preservation, mixed with a very deep, ancient instinct to protect their colony. If they could speak to you, They would gently tell you, "I feel weak today, and I am making sure no danger follows me back to our home. I am guarding the family from the shadows right now. And hey, if this is already lifting some of that indoor cat guilt off your shoulders, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more devoted owners." 3. They are resetting their sensory overload. Imagine being able to hear a tiny mouse tiptoeing behind a thick wall, or smelling a neighbor walking outside. Your cat experiences the entire world in extremely high definition all the time. Sometimes, a sunny afternoon with the television on is simply too much data. You walking around the house doing normal everyday chores can overwhelm their tiny brain. They retreat to a dark, enclosed space to completely shut off the sensory input. A classic report by Karlstead in 1993 highlighted how environmental predictability and sensory control are directly linked to a domestic cat's overall immune system health. When the lights are too bright and the sounds are too sharp, they hide to naturally lower their heart rate. It is absolutely not an insult to you. It is a completely healthy physical boundary. They simply need a quiet sensory detox to avoid burning out. If they could translate this overwhelming feeling, they would say, "My senses are completely overflowing right now. I need the quiet dark to find my balance again, so I can come back and be affectionate with you soon." 4. They are establishing secure perimeters. You might notice your cat regularly rotates their hiding spots. Under the sofa on Monday, top of the wardrobe on Wednesday afternoon, deep in the dark closet on Friday evening. You might easily think they are just being completely chaotic or actively trying to avoid you all week, but they are absolutely not running away from you. They are carefully securing the perimeter. Researcher Vink in 2014 showed that hiding is a crucial primary behavior. Cats use this exact behavior to continuously evaluate and adapt to their territory. By actively testing out these various concealed spots around the house, one by one, they are systematically mapping out the ultimate safe zones in the environment. They are making absolutely sure their territory has viable escape routes in case of danger. It is a highly strategic feline operation. If they could explain this complex patrol mission to you, they would confidently look at you and simply say, "I am not lost or ignoring you right now. I am just making sure our fortress is still perfectly safe for both of us to live in." So the next time you find them tucked away in a brand new spot, remember they are working hard. Which brings us to another truly beautiful truth. 5. They want you to know they are there, silently. Have you ever noticed that their chosen hiding spot is usually very close to where you are? It is very often in the exact same room that you are resting in. They are tucked deep under the sofa you are currently sitting on, or they are sleeping completely hidden under the bed you are lying in. You cannot see them at all, but they can definitely smell your familiar scent. They can hear your rhythmic breathing, and they can feel your comforting presence. This is not fear or isolation. This is resting in a secure core area. Feline experts Turner and Bateson noted that domestic cats frequently use spatial distancing to effectively maintain social harmony within their shared living environment with their beloved humans. They desire your company without the intense pressure of direct physical interaction. It is a very sophisticated and deeply respectful way of simply being together in peace. If they could whisper softly from their dark, safe spot under the warm bed, they would look at you with total trust, and they would say, "I do not need to be touched right now, but I feel perfectly secure and happy just knowing you are near me. You are my safe place." 6. The worst mistake is pulling them out. This is the exact moment I promised to explain to you at the very start of this video. When your feline is tucked away, your immediate human instinct is to naturally comfort them, to reach your hand into the dark and pull them out into the light. You want to show them they are completely safe with you. But the International Society of Feline Medicine clearly states in their environmental guidelines that a domestic cat must have a designated safe place that is entirely their own. completely free from human intrusion. When you force them out, you are destroying the one tool they have to successfully cope with their intense anxiety. By reaching in, you accidentally tell them that their carefully chosen sanctuary is actually very easily breached by outside forces. It is absolutely not a sign of a bad relationship if they stay hidden for hours. It is simply a sign of a cat acting like a normal cat. The greatest act of love you can possibly show your best friend is to calmly walk past their hiding spot, pretend you do not even see them there, and let them heal on their own terms. When you respect this invisible boundary, you are silently telling them that you respect their wild nature and their needs. It takes immense self-control for a loving owner to leave them alone, but doing so builds an unbreakable foundation of trust that will literally last a lifetime. If they could look you deep in the eyes right now from the safety of their dark corner, they would gently and softly whisper this secret to you. Trust me enough to just wait for me. Let me come back to you when I am completely ready. I promise you that I always will come back, because my home is not just this house. My ultimate home and my true center of safety is, and always has been, right by your side forever. They absolutely do not hide because they want to leave you, or because they are angry. They hide so they can silently gather the immense physical and emotional strength to continue being the wonderful companion you know and love. Their temporary absence is just their unique way of preparing to give you their absolute best self again. So let them rest in the shadows today, because tomorrow they will step back into the light, ready to fiercely protect you and love you all over again. When you raise your voice, yell at your cat, or try to punish them for doing something wrong, do you actually know what they are trying to say to you? Yes, it is incredibly frustrating when they scratch the sofa or knock over your favorite glass. But behind their reaction to your anger, there is something deeper. And if you misunderstand this subtle reaction, which most well-meaning owners do, you could be silently destroying the delicate trust it took you years to build. Let us start with how their tiny feline brain actually processes your sudden bursts of anger. Because they are not simply ignoring your house rules out of spite. When they freeze or run away, they are not being stubborn. In that intense moment, they are genuinely just trying to survive you and your unpredictable emotions. 1. They do not understand the concept of a mistake. When you catch your cat scratching the rug and you shout at them, you think you are teaching them. You believe that a stern voice will show them what they did wrong. But researchers at the University of Pennsylvania found that cats completely lack this specific cognitive ability. They cannot connect a delayed punishment with their past action. They simply do not think, I am in trouble right now because I scratched the rug 10 minutes ago. Instead of learning a lesson about furniture, they just see the gentle human they love suddenly acting extremely aggressive, loud, and dangerously unpredictable in their own territory. That is not healthy discipline. That is a terrifying betrayal of their safe space. They feel completely cornered by the one person who is supposed to protect them. If they could put their feline feelings into our words, it would sound exactly like this. I do not understand why you are mad, but I am terrified. I do not know what I did, but I am so scared of you right now. Please stop making those loud noises and go back to being gentle. And by the way, if your cat ever suddenly stops sleeping with their back turned to you, do not brush it off. We will get into that silent warning. 2. Your raised voice sounds exactly like a predator. You might think raising your voice just shows them who is the boss and establishes your firm boundaries. But to a tiny cat, loud, booming sounds immediately trigger an ancient survival instinct. Studies from the University of Vienna on acoustic startle responses show something truly fascinating. They have incredibly sensitive hearing, designed to detect the faint rustle of a mouse in the grass. But it also detects the roar of a dangerous threat. When you yell, you are no longer acting like a calm authority figure. You are mimicking a large, dangerous predator about to attack them in their own home. They are not being stubborn when they suddenly scramble under the bed to hide from you. They are genuinely fighting for their life in that exact moment. They feel overwhelmed and completely unsafe. That is not an effective way to teach a lesson. That is a quick way to destroy their sense of security. If they could speak to you, they would say it like this. Your voice hurts my ears and breaks my heart. Please speak softly to me again. And if you want to rebuild that shattered trust, it starts with lowering your volume and approaching them quietly. Which brings us to the next massive mistake. And hey, if learning this is already lifting some of that heavy cat owner guilt off your shoulders, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more owners. 3. The water bottle makes you the enemy. For decades, people have used spray bottles to stop cats from jumping on the counters or scratching the furniture. You probably think a quick squirt of water is a harmless way to enforce house rules, but it actually creates a deep psychological rift between you two. They do not associate the unpleasant water with the kitchen counter or the sofa. They associate the terrible spraying water directly with you, the person holding it. The International Cat Care Organization strictly warns that using physical punishments, like water sprays, only creates a permanent climate of fear and significantly increases their daily stress levels. This is not successfully setting boundaries for them. This is actively teaching your beloved cat to fear your physical presence and to run away whenever you approach them. They just learn to wait until you leave the room to do the behavior anyway. The only thing you have changed is how much they trust you. If they could explain it to you, they would ask this: I thought your hands were only for gentle pets. Why are they bringing the scary rain? Instead of spraying them, try offering a much more attractive scratching post nearby. Because the next common punishment we use is actually much more damaging to their fragile hearts. 4. Timeouts actually break their fragile heart. Sometimes we get so mad we lock the cat in another room just to force them to calm down. You probably think giving them a timeout in the hallway teaches them a strict lesson about boundaries and what is considered bad behavior in the family home. But they absolutely do not use this quiet time to reflect on their past actions, analyze the situation, or understand their mistakes like a human child would. To a tiny creature that relies entirely on you for its whole world and sense of safety, this punishment just feels like sudden, unexplained, and terrifying abandonment. Researchers at Oregon State University have proven that domestic cats form incredibly deep, secure emotional attachments to their human caregivers, very much like human babies actually do. When you isolate them as a harsh punishment, it causes extreme separation anxiety. This is not a helpful timeout to cool off. It is a real emotional trauma. They just sit alone by the closed wooden door, confused and highly stressed, wondering why the person they love most in the whole world just kicked them out. If they could tell you how they feel, it would sound like this: I am sorry for whatever I did. Please do not leave me in the dark. 5. They hide their intense fear right in plain sight. You might easily think your cat is perfectly fine after a loud and stressful scolding finally ends, because instead of running away, they just sit down casually on the living room rug and start grooming their fur. You assume they are relaxed and moving on, but animal behaviorists at the University of Lincoln highlight that sudden, intense grooming immediately after a verbal conflict is actually a very well-documented feline displacement behavior. It is a frantic coping mechanism. They are desperately trying to soothe their racing heart, lower their blood pressure, and manage a massive spike of internal anxiety. That is absolutely not a sign of a calm and relaxed cat. That is a vulnerable animal, desperately trying to internally process how terrifying you just were. They are not ignoring your anger with a sassy or aloof attitude. They are completely overwhelmed by the negative energy you brought into their carefully controlled, safe territory. If they could speak, they would gently whisper to you right now: I am making myself very small and clean, so you will not be mad at me anymore. 6. The silent sign of broken trust. This brings us directly to the important warning moment I promised you at the very start of this video. It is a subtle behavior that every single cat owner needs to watch out for carefully in their own home, especially after a loud and stressful argument. When a feline truly trusts you completely and feels safe, they will very often choose to sleep right next to you, with their back turned entirely toward your face. This is the ultimate emotional compliment in the feline world. They are willingly giving you their vulnerable blind spot, trusting you to watch over them while they rest. But animal behavior researchers at Nottingham Trent University note that when a cat feels genuinely threatened by highly unpredictable owner behavior, something deep inside their mind changes. Their long-term social memory actually alters their natural sleeping habits, and resting positions to ensure they can survive a sudden aggressive outburst in the family bedroom. If they suddenly stop turning their back to you and instead always choose to sleep facing you with half-open eyes, that delicate trust is unfortunately broken. They simply no longer feel completely safe in your presence. They feel they need to constantly keep an eye on you just in case you explode again. They are absolutely not being aloof or stubbornly independent right now. They are actively protecting themselves from the exact person who is supposed to protect and love them. But here is the most beautiful and forgiving thing about feline psychology in your home. That shattered trust can always be beautifully rebuilt if you are willing to try. If you finally drop the harsh physical punishments, lower your volume, and offer soft, slow blinks from across the quiet room, your cat will absolutely notice it. They do not hold long, bitter grudges like human beings often do. They do not want you to be totally perfect. They just want to feel secure again. They just want to be yours forever. And every single time they choose to close their eyes and slowly blink back at you from across the living room, they are giving you a beautiful fresh start and a clean slate. They are offering you pure forgiveness for all the loud noises and the scary moments. If they could speak our language, they would look at you and gently say, "I forgive you for everything. Let us try to be best friends again."
When your cat sleeps next to you with one eye slightly open, do you actually know what they are trying to say? Most owners guess completely wrong. You might think they are just light sleepers, or perhaps feeling anxious. But behind that unsettling half stare, there is a profound meaning that almost everyone misses completely. And if you misread this behavior, which most cat parents do, you might wrongly assume that your feline friend does not feel safe in your home yet. By brushing it off, you could be missing a quiet message of intense devotion they have been trying to send you since the day they arrived. Let us start by looking at what that strange nighttime habit really means, and why it is actually a beautiful complement to your role as their guardian. 1. It was never about a lack of trust. When you catch them resting with that cracked eye, it is very easy to feel slightly offended or worried. Have you ever wondered why they might sleep deeply in a hidden closet, but keep that one eye locked in the doorway when they are lying beside you? Many people assume their cat is simply nervous, perhaps waiting for you to make a sudden loud move, or worrying that you might accidentally roll onto them. The reality is entirely different. They are employing a brilliant biological defense protocol. It is a highly specialized survival tool designed to monitor the perimeter of the room. Studies published in Current Biology show that cats experience unihemispheric sleep. This means one half of their brain rests deeply while the other half stays fully alert. That single open eye is directly wired to the awake side of their brain. They are actively tracking shadows and movements to ensure nothing approaches the bed unnoticed. If they could speak to you in that moment, they would say this: "I am resting my tired body, but I am never truly off duty for you." And by the way, if your cat ever completely stops doing this and falls into a dead sleep constantly, do not ignore it. We will decode that later. 2. The evolutionary cost of complete peace. To truly understand why they stand guard over you, we must first look at their wild ancestry and survival instincts. Deep sleep is an absolute luxury in the animal kingdom. Have you noticed how your cat still squivels their ears at tiny noises, even when they look relaxed? In the wild, their ancestors were formidable predators, but they were also small enough to be prey. Falling into a deep slumber meant constantly risking their lives. Your living room might not have eagles or coyotes, but those millions of years of survival wiring do not just vanish because they have a comfortable bed. So, they compromise. They rest their tired muscles while keeping their biological radar fully switched on. That cracked open eye is their early warning system for your home. According to feline behaviorist John Bradshaw, this dual state allows them to assess environmental threats instantly. They are essentially standing guard while they are simultaneously recharging their energy. If your cat could explain this instinct, they would tell you this: "Deep sleep is a luxury I cannot afford when I am responsible for our safety." They choose to bear the burden of vigilance. But how exactly do they monitor the entire room when they look almost completely asleep? The answer is truly fascinating. If understanding their quiet, protective instincts is lifting some worries off your shoulders, hit like and subscribe. Let us help more owners decode these beautiful signs of love. 3. Micro movements in the dark. Have you ever closely watched your cat's face when they are resting near you, with that one eye just barely open? You might think they are just having a vivid dream, or perhaps they are annoyed by a flickering light or a random shadow dancing across the wall. In reality, they are operating a highly sensitive sensory network. While one eye monitors subtle changes in the light, their other senses are working in absolute overdrive. Notice how their whiskers twitch slightly. These are not just hairs. They are highly sophisticated tactile sensors, picking up microscopic changes in the air currents around them. Their ears and whiskers act as a radar dish. They can detect the faintest vibrations, mapping out the entire room layout without needing to fully open their eyes. If someone approaches the bedroom door, or if a sudden draft enters the hallway, they will feel it and react long before you ever hear a footstep. If they could translate this into words, it would sound like this. Even when I dream, my whiskers are measuring the room so you can sleep peacefully. They are constantly processing a massive amount of data. And this explains exactly why they insist on choosing the most specific, sometimes inconvenient spots to half sleep. 4. Why they choose your lap for half sleep. If they are so focused on guarding the room, why do they sleep directly on top of you? Would it not make much more sense for them to sleep by the bedroom door, or up on a high shelf where they can see everything perfectly clear? This specific choice actually reveals a deeply beautiful truth about how your feline friend views your relationship, your shared territory, and your overall presence in their life. Researchers at Oregon State University discovered that domestic cats form highly secure, emotional attachments to their owners, behaving very much like human infants do with their parents. You are their ultimate safe zone. Your familiar scent, the rhythm of your breathing, and your physical warmth provide them with an anchor of absolute biological security. By resting on your lap with one eye slightly open, they are physically anchoring themselves to their safest place while still actively monitoring the unsecured room perimeter. They are brilliantly combining their deep need for emotional closeness with their wild instinct to protect. It is the absolute ultimate multitasking of feline love and survival. If they could translate this exact feeling into words, they would tell you, "Right here is where I feel closest, yet I still watch the door for us." 5. The science of the resting flash. Sometimes you might notice that their half-open eye will suddenly snap fully shut, only to pop open again moments later. Many cat parents completely mistake this rapid eye movement. They assume the cat is waking up because they are annoyed by a noise or bothered by your shifting. But this is absolutely not annoyance. It is a highly specialized biological feature of their unique sleep cycle, perfectly designed for instant physical reactions to hidden dangers. Unlike humans, cats experience very short, intense periods of deep sleep. They are capable of dropping into and pulling out of these heavy cycles in mere minutes. That quick flash of the eye is simply them breaching the surface of deep sleep to quickly update their complex mental map of the room's current safety. If the room is still quiet, they dip right back under, but their muscles remain tightly primed to explode into sudden action at a single moment's notice. If you could hear their thoughts, they would say this: "Do not wake me up. I am already calculating the very next move to keep this space secure." So the next time you see that quick twitch, do not try to soothe them back to sleep. Just let their natural radar do its very important job. 6. When the half-open eye completely disappears. We need to discuss exactly what happens when this lifelong vigilant habit suddenly stops happening entirely out of nowhere. This is the critical shift I promised you at the very start of our video, and it is something every cat owner needs to understand before ignoring it. If your cat has always been a vigilant sleeper, but suddenly starts sleeping like a rock and ignoring sounds, many owners wrongly think they are finally completely comfortable. But if a watchful cat suddenly stops running their biological defense protocol entirely, it is often a silent alarm. They might be physically exhausted or hiding an illness. According to veterinary behaviorists, a drastic in deep and unresponsive sleep can actually be an early sign of cognitive decline in older cats, or even severe pain. When they are suffering quietly, their energy is completely depleted just trying to heal their body. They simply no longer have the reserves to keep watch over you. This alarming change in their daily resting baseline is exactly why you should bring them to the clinic for a thorough checkup, rather than assuming they are lazy. If they could somehow find the exact words to explain why their guard has suddenly dropped, it would probably sound a little bit like this right now. I am far too tired to watch the door today. My shield is slipping from my hands, and this is exactly when I need you to protect me. Your feline friend has spent their entire life monitoring the dark corners and invisible shadows just to keep your shared territory perfectly secure while you are peacefully resting. When they can no longer maintain that steady watch, they are entirely relying on you to step up and take over the duty of guarding the family home. That tiny cracked open eye you see every night is absolutely never a sign of doubt. It is not anxiety, and it is certainly not a lack of trust. It is a quiet and incredibly beautiful shield held up for you in the dark by a tiny, wild predator who deeply loves your warm and safe presence. It is the ultimate silent proof that out of absolutely everything in this big, scary world, you are their entire universe to fiercely love and protect forever. When your cat starts acting completely out of character and showing strange, unexpected behaviors, do you actually know what they are trying to say to you? Yes, it might just seem like a weird everyday quirk, but behind that sudden behavioral shift, there is a crucial, hidden message that most owners completely miss. And if you continuously misunderstand these signs, which most of us do, you could be ignoring a silent cry for help they have been sending you. Because domestic cats are absolute masters at hiding their pain. By the time you notice something is off, they might already be silently begging for your intervention. Let us break down 7 strange behaviors that mean your cat needs you right now, starting with the very most misunderstood one of them all today. 1. It was never about being aloof or independent. If your cat suddenly hides in highly unusual places, they are not just taking a quiet nap. You might find them wedged deep under the heavy bed or tucked away in a dark closet corner, completely ignoring your calls. Have you seen this? Many people mistakenly assume their cat is just being antisocial or getting old and grumpy. They think the cat simply wants to be left alone today. But out in the wild, a sick or injured animal is incredibly vulnerable to predators. Hiding is a deep survival instinct wired into their feline brain. Researchers studying animal behavior have shown that hiding is often the very first clinical sign of distress or illness in domestic cats facing severe internal discomfort. If they could ever put this fear into words, it would sound like this. I do not want you to worry, but I really need to stay hidden. Please do not ever drag them out of their safe space. Sit quietly nearby and observe if they are eating, because this leads us to something critical. And by the way, if your cat ever suddenly stops hiding and just lies out in the open helplessly, do not brush it off. We will decode that later. 2. This is not just a normal, everyday cleaning routine. When your cat obsessively licks the exact same spot bare, they are not just grooming themselves. You might frequently see them aggressively biting at their own belly or paws. Most of us just assume they are keeping their beautiful fur nice and tidy. Many owners quickly assume it is just a simple flea problem or a minor skin allergy. But this repetitive action goes much deeper than just an itch. When a cat feels severe internal pain or overwhelming chronic stress, they use the physical act of grooming to self-soothe and regain a sense of control. Veterinary behaviorists refer to this intense condition as psychogenic alopecia. The repetitive licking releases calming endorphins into their brain to combat the hidden discomfort they constantly feel. They are literally trying to lick their own physical pain away. It is a desperate coping mechanism when they feel their world or their body falling apart. If they could speak our human language, they would be telling you this. It hurts right here, and I do not know how to make it stop. Never punish them for bald patches. Instead, you must look for the underlying source of their anxiety. Which brings us to another highly vocal cry for help. And hey, If learning this is already lifting some of that heavy owner guilt off your shoulders, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more cats together. 3. They are not just being annoying and noisy. If your typically quiet cat suddenly starts yowling intensely, especially at night, they are not just demanding food. It is incredibly easy to get frustrated when they wake you up at 3 in the morning. We often think they are just being demanding or completely unreasonable, but a sudden drastic change in vocalization is a massive red flag. For senior cats especially, this night crying is often a terrifying sign of cognitive dysfunction. Researchers from the University of Edinburgh found that aging cats often suffer from a decline in sensory function, leaving them feeling completely disoriented in the dark house. Imagine waking up in a pitch-black room and suddenly not knowing where you are. That loud yowling is literally them crying out into the frightening void. They are not trying to ruin your sleep. They are trying to find you. Translated into our words, their heartbreaking midnight cries mean exactly this to you. I am so lost in the dark. I am scared. And your familiar voice is the only anchor I have left in this confusing world right now. Do not yell back at them. Simply call their names softly to guide them back to safety. Now let us talk about the most frustrating behavior ever. 4. Their mistakes have absolutely nothing to do with revenge. When they suddenly start going to the bathroom outside their litter box, do you think they are mad? Most owners get incredibly frustrated and mistakenly assume the cat is holding a grudge. We think they are ruining our nice carpets just to punish us for something. But a feline brain does not process spite or revenge like a human does. What is actually happening is a desperate attempt to escape severe physical discomfort. When they experience a painful urinary tract issue, going to the bathroom becomes agonizing, and their natural instinct is to immediately blame the location where that pain happens. Veterinary researchers explain that the cat simply associates their normal litter box with severe discomfort. So they seek out soft, cool surfaces like your laundry for some relief. If they could clearly explain this terrible confusion to you, they would be saying this: "The hurts me now, and I am trying to tell you that. I am choosing this spot because it feels much safer and it smells like you. I really need you to understand that I am sick, not being bad." Never yell or rub their nose in it because this only breaks their trust completely. Instead, call your vet immediately. Which brings us to another heartbreaking physical sign. 5. This is not just sudden moodiness or them being a typical grumpy cat. Have you ever tried to gently pet them and they suddenly strike right out? We immediately pull back and feel deeply rejected by our favorite little companion. We assume they just do not want to be near us or love us anymore. But if your usually cuddly cat suddenly hates being touched, they are not rejecting your love. They are fiercely protecting a fragile body that is currently in pain. Medical studies on feline behavior highlight a severe physical pain response. This means that a normally pleasant, gentle stroke suddenly feels like burning needles on their sensitive skin. When a cat is suffering from hidden joint pain or internal illness, their entire nervous system goes on high alert. Any physical contact becomes completely overwhelming for them. If they could apologize for biting your loving hand, they would tell you this: "I want to be close to you, but your touch hurts my body today. I am lashing out because I am so incredibly scared of the pain, not because I want to. Please just let me sit quietly beside you." And this brings us to the absolute most crucial and deeply misunderstood behavior of them all. 6. The ultimate cry for help hiding right in plain sight. This is the very moment I promised you at the start. When your cat stops hiding in the closet and suddenly just lies exposed in the wide open. Many owners see this and feel relieved. We mistakenly think they are finally feeling better and just coming out to relax with us in the busy living room. But look closely at their face. Their eyes are half closed, their ears are slightly flattened, and their whiskers are pulled straight forward in severe physical tension. Veterinary experts call this the feline grimace scale. It is a scientifically proven indicator that your cat is experiencing an overwhelming level of physical agony right now. Remember how we said hiding is their deepest survival instinct? So why would an animal in severe pain suddenly choose to leave their safely hidden dark space? They do not do this because they are suddenly cured. They do this because their tiny, fragile body is completely exhausted from fighting the hidden illness alone. When a cat chooses to collapse out in the open, specifically right in front of you, they are making a massive and incredibly brave emotional decision today. They are consciously overriding millions of years of wild predator instincts just to be near you. They are surrendering their ultimate safety completely into your caring hands. If they could gather the strength to tell you what this truly means, they would say this: I can no longer hide my weakness from the world. I am totally helpless right now, and I have chosen to lay down my defenses because I deeply believe you will protect me from the unseen dangers. Do not just let them sleep it off. Wrap them gently in a warm blanket and call your veterinarian immediately, because they are entirely depending on you. It is incredibly easy to feel guilty for missing these silent signs. But remember that cats are absolute masters at hiding their vulnerability from everyone else around. The fact that they finally broke their own primal rules to show you their pain means you have earned a level of trust that is truly rare. They did not give up. They came to you. Because in their world, you are not just a keeper. You are the only safety they have ever known. It is exactly 3 a.m, and the only thing in your universe is a cold, desperate meow and a tiny paw batting your closed eyelid. When your cat decides that your human sleep schedule is completely irrelevant, do you actually know what they are trying to say in the dark? Yes, it is infuriating. You feel exhausted, a little bit angry, and extremely confused about why they chose this exact moment to wake you. But behind that relentless midnight wake-up call, there is a complex primal message that you are almost certainly missing in your sleepy state. And if you misunderstand it, you could be missing a genuine plea for connection. Let us figure out exactly how to stop this tonight. 1. They are hunting ghosts while you dream. Cats are crepuscular, which is just a fancy scientific way to say they are naturally most active at dawn and dusk. This inherited biological rhythm makes their ancient hunting instincts peak exactly when your sleep is deepest, roughly at 3 or 4 in the morning. In a small dark house, every single dust mote and moving shadow becomes a target. To them, this is a dangerous jungle that must be policed. But there is a very specific, seemingly logical thing you are doing at 3 in the morning that is making this stressful behavior completely permanent. This intense nightly ghost hunt gives them a powerful mental boost that you might be accidentally encouraging every single day without even realizing it. A highly respected animal behaviorist named John Bradshaw explains in his research that indoor cats must constantly redirect their natural predatory drive onto whatever moves. If they could put it into words, it would sound like this: the shadows are moving. I am keeping our territory safe while you rest. And by the way, this innocent object you are using for peace is the ultimate relationship destroyer. We will uncover that exact trap at the end. 2. You are subconsciously their favorite toy. You have a very specific condition, a learned response that you are unfortunately teaching them every single night. When they first meowed at 3 in the morning, maybe you talked back, or you just simply moved your hand under the heavy winter blanket. To them, that small physical twitch or sleepy groan was a massive reward. It was a silent game of peekaboo from their favorite giant in the dark. You might even think you are successfully ignoring them by just softly pushing them off the edge of the bed with your heavy arm. But this is a mistake, because to a cat that is severely bored, any physical reaction from you at all is far better than being completely invisible in a perfectly silent room. If they could translate this into words, it would be very simple. Look at me, play with me, do absolutely anything. Just do not ignore me tonight. You think you are being strict and aloof by not looking at them directly. but they see your human frustration as a brand new form of midnight entertainment. This learned pattern is exactly what behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner called conditional reinforcement. Your sleepy annoyance actually rewards and permanently locks in their nightly bad behavior. And hey, if learning this makes you feel a little less guilty about your demanding cat, hit like and subscribe so we can help more owners build this beautiful bond. 3. A desperate silent check on your presence. The absolute silence of your house is actually terrifying for a creature that is naturally programmed to survive in the wild. They are biologically built to be both a hunter and the hunted. So when everything goes completely quiet, their deep survival instincts instantly go on high alert. Remember, for a domestic cat living safely indoors, you are the alpha, the main parent figure, and the absolute ultimate source of safety in their entire world. When you lie perfectly still and silent for many hours in the dark, they sometimes just need to simply confirm that you are actually still okay and functioning. Your human breathing pattern becomes so still, your presence is completely faded. In their anxious mind, they are wondering, are you still alive? Are we still safe? Cornell Feline Health Center notes that cats use specific vocalizations to check on family members. A tiny meow or a soft head bunt is never an attack. It is essentially a worried child asking if you are still there in the dark. They desperately need a sign that their giant guardian is still alive. If they could tell you directly, it would be this: your sudden silence makes me nervous. I just need to make sure you are still breathing tonight. 4. The 3 a.m. hunger is mostly in their head. You probably think they are genuinely starving and desperate when they wake you up demanding breakfast in the dark. When they cry loudly right next to their empty metal food bowl, it is incredibly easy to assume they desperately need a massive midnight calorie boost right now. While a genuine digestive issue is always a possibility, a healthy indoor cat has a highly efficient stomach. They are never truly starving after just a few short hours. Veterinary behaviorists at International Cat Care explain that while cats naturally prefer hunting small meals, they can very easily adapt to your normal daytime human feeding schedule. A large part of this desperate midnight begging is actually purely conditional. It is a powerful, learned behavior that has slowly developed over many long, exhausting nights. They have successfully learned that bothering you in bed is the absolute fastest and most reliable way to get a fresh, delicious meal served to them immediately. If they could put it into words, it would be this: I am slightly bored and feeling a bit snacky. I know exactly how to wake my chef. So tomorrow night, try leaving a small, interactive puzzle feeder out right before your bedtime. This simple step helps rule out true physical hunger from mere midnight boredom. 5. Their incredible night vision actually needs you. We all know cats have amazing eyes, so you probably assume they can see perfectly in your dark, quiet house. When all the lights go out, you might think they are having a wonderful time navigating the house with total confidence while you are left stumbling, completely blind. But the surprising truth is that in a completely pitch-black room with heavy curtains drawn, their ancient hunting eyes actually struggle almost exactly as much as yours do. Feline behaviorist Dennis Turner notes that a cat suddenly caught in absolute total darkness can easily feel deeply disoriented and extremely vulnerable to any unseen creeping dangers. They do not understand that your modern locked house is perfectly safe. Their primitive survival brain just sees a dangerous black abyss where anything could be hiding. When they meow aggressively from the dark, empty hallway, they are often not asking for a fun toy. They are genuinely scared and asking to not be completely alone. They just want to find you, feel your warm skin, hear your familiar heartbeat, and absolutely confirm that they are not completely isolated in this scary, silent void. So instead of automatically assuming they are just being playful or annoying, just remember they might be sincerely scared and seeking comfort from their beloved guardian. 6. The immediate response trap you must avoid. This is the exact moment I promised you earlier. A conditional behavior scientifically called reinforcing the absolutely wrong pattern. If you choose to do this one simple thing every night, you have successfully completed a 3-part training ritual for your cat without even realizing it. They meow loudly. You get annoyed, grab your glowing smartphone to check the time, and then give them a quick treat just to quiet them down. They meow and jump on your tired face, desperately hoping you will do the exact same thing again. You finally sigh, get out of bed, and feed them. The conditional chain is now complete. In their highly logical mind, meowing loud and getting aggressive exactly equals getting a delicious reward in a very short time frame. This simple mental coupling has now permanently solidified in their brain, rapidly transforming a natural nighttime reflex into a deeply embedded and incredibly frustrating daily habit for you. By choosing immediate convenience to save your sleep tonight, you have inadvertently taught them a brand new way to successfully manipulate your daily behavior in the dark. Veterinary behaviorists at International Cat Care highly recommend a strategy called planned ignoring. It is incredibly hard to do, but it is the only way to break this cycle. You absolutely must not look at them, speak to them, or touch them when they demand attention at 3 in the morning. Absolute zero physical response is strictly required. It will get much worse before it gets better. They will try harder, acting like they are truly starving, just to test if your new boundaries are real. If they could put it into words, it would be this: you always gave in before. I will just keep pushing until you remember how our game works. They are not attacking your sleep schedule for fun. They simply do not have a human concept of time, work alarms, or your desperate need for deep rest. In a world that is totally silent and completely dark, they are just trying to keep the only thing they have ever truly known completely safe and alive. And that precious thing, my dear friend, is you. They are not a selfish midnight attacker. They are just trying to be your loyal guardian in the shadows. And that precious thing, my dear friend, is you. They are not a selfish midnight attacker. They are just trying to be your loyal guardian in the shadows. When you clean your house to make it perfect for your cat, do you actually know what you are doing to them? Yes, it looks spotless and smells amazing, but behind that fresh citrus scent, there is an invisible stress that most owners completely miss. You might think your cat loves a perfectly hygienic home just as much, and if you misunderstand this hidden danger, you could be accidentally destroying the very trust you have spent years building with your feline best friend without even realizing it. They rely on their environment to feel secure. Changing it too drastically can make them feel like a stranger. You could be missing their subtle cries for help every day. It is time to look at your cleaning habits from their perspective. Let us start with what that fresh pine smell really means to their highly sensitive nose. 1. It was never about being antisocial. You plug in a new essential oil diffuser or mop the floor with pine cleaner, and suddenly your cat leaves the room entirely. You might watch them walk away and think they just want to be alone for a while. You assume they are just being an independent and distant pet. They do not. The truth is something entirely different. Their sense of smell is 14 times stronger than yours. What smells like a mild lemon breeze to you feels like a chemical storm. Volatile organic compounds from artificial fragrances do not just smell strong to them. Animal behaviorists explain that these chemicals actually cause physical discomfort in their tiny upper respiratory tract. They are not walking away because they are tired of your company. They are leaving because their delicate sensory system is completely overwhelmed and they need immediate relief. This breaks their heart just as much as yours. If they could put it into words, it would sound like this: I want to be near you right now. I really do want to sit on your lap. But the air in this room hurts my nose and I cannot breathe safely. Please turn that strong smell off. And by the way, if your cat ever acts distant right after you clean, do not brush it off. We will get into what that really means at the end. 2. The invisible wall you built between you and them. You take a shower and cover yourself in strong perfumes or lotions. thinking you smell absolutely great for the day. But your cat approaches you, gives your hand a quick sniff, and then quickly backs away with a strange look on their face. That is not them judging your taste. Cats actually rely on a special tool called the Jacobson organ to process complex scents in their environment. It helps them read the story of who you really are. Heavy artificial chemicals and strong floral lotions completely overload this tiny organ. It effectively makes them nose-blind to all the subtle, natural scents they desperately want. They are not backing away because they do not love you. They are backing away because you have completely masked the safe, natural scent they rely on daily. This creates a heartbreaking, invisible wall between you and your cat. If they could look up and speak to you right now, it would sound a lot like this. Your real scent is completely hidden behind this loud chemical smell. I cannot read your invisible signals, and I honestly do not know who you are right now. Please wash this strong smell off your skin so I can finally find my favorite human again. I just want to feel safe when I sit in your lap. If you are realizing you might have made some of these indoor cat mistakes, hit like and subscribe so we can reach more owners who want to do right. 3. Why they hide in your dirty laundry. Have you ever noticed your cat completely ignoring their expensive clean bed just to sleep on your sweaty gym shirt? You might look at them buried in your laundry basket and think they are just being completely weird and gross. They are not doing this to annoy you. Researchers at Oregon State University have shown something fascinating about this. They discovered that cats form incredibly deep emotional attachments based entirely on long-term olfactory memory. Your unwashed clothes are heavily soaked in your unique, natural scent. To their sensitive nose, your dirty laundry smells like comfort, security, and the feeling of being completely protected. When the rest of your home suddenly smells like harsh floor cleaners and strong detergents, that messy laundry basket essentially becomes an emotional life raft for your cat. They climb into your shirts because they are desperate for familiar territory. If they could explain this strange sleeping habit to you, it would sound something like this. The rest of the house smells sharp and scary right now. This pile of shirts is the very last place that still smells like my warm and safe family. Please do not wash these clothes just yet. I really need to sleep here until all those scary, sharp smells in the living room finally fade away completely. 4. The punishment of a perfectly clean floor. You thoroughly scrub the baseboards and heavily wash the corners of the walls to keep everything perfectly hygienic and safe. 4. The punishment of a perfectly clean floor. You thoroughly scrub the baseboards and heavily wash the corners of the walls to keep everything perfectly hygienic and safe. You truly think you are being a great owner by providing a spotless environment. But to your cat, you just burned down their carefully drawn map of safety. Cats constantly rub their furry cheeks on your furniture and doorways to leave behind special facial pheromones. These marks act like completely invisible and comforting sticky notes. Those tiny chemical notes quietly say, "This specific area is safe, and I belong here." But then you wipe them all away with strong bleach or chemical cleaners. By doing that, you essentially erase their entire sense of security in a single instant. They wake up and find all their important safe marks totally gone. That perfectly scrubbed living room floor does not feel pleasantly clean to them. It feels like waking up in a completely unfamiliar house where they do not belong. If they could look up from that spotless floor and speak directly to you, it would sound like this. My comforting safe marks are completely gone today. I cannot find any of the reassuring invisible signs that tell me I live here. I honestly feel like a complete stranger in my own home right now. 5. The truth behind the sudden bites. Sometimes you casually sit down in your freshly cleaned living room and warmly reach out to pet your cat very gently. And almost out of nowhere, they suddenly swat at your hand or aggressively bite you. You might immediately think they are just being mean or unpredictable today. They are definitely not. Living in an indoor environment completely stripped of their comforting pheromones and flooded with harsh artificial scents causes severe, chronic, low-level stress. This constant sensory overload puts their tiny and sensitive nervous system on extreme high alert all day. They are not actually angry at you for touching them. Your gentle hand reaching out is simply the breaking point for a little feline brain that is already totally exhausted from processing all those overwhelming artificial smells. When they suddenly bite or aggressively swat at you, they are just desperately begging for a sensory break. If they could explain this sudden aggressive behavior to you, it would sound exactly like this. My delicate senses are absolutely screaming at me right now. I am way too overwhelmed to be touched or comfortably held today. So the next time they react aggressively after you clean, please do not punish them. They simply need a quiet, safe space to let their tired senses recover. 6. Rebuilding the pack scent. This is the exact moment I promised to explain at the very beginning, and it is something every cat owner really needs to understand. Why does a perfectly spotless house make your cat suddenly less affectionate towards you? The answer actually goes back thousands of years to their wild feline ancestors. In the wild, cats living in a close family group constantly rub against each other to create a very specific, shared communal scent through a process called allo-rubbing. That specific shared scent is the ultimate invisible security blanket. It is the only thing that truly tells them they belong together with their beloved family members. When you aggressively scrub the house and use heavy artificial fragrances, you completely destroy that communal scent profile. You wipe away the very thing holding your bond together. Without realizing it, you accidentally tell them that they no longer belong to your family pack. But thankfully, you can easily fix this broken bond starting today. First, stop using harsh essential oils or strong chemical sprays in the living spaces where your feline best friend spends most of their time relaxing. Switch to unscented, natural pet-safe cleaners whenever possible. This simple and cheap change will immediately lower their daily stress levels and help them breathe much easier. And most importantly, let them patiently rub their furry cheeks all over your wooden furniture and your hands just as often as they possibly want to. When they do this, they are not just being itchy or weird. They are literally trying to write their family name right next to yours on the wall. Every single time they gently press their head against your shin, they are proudly claiming you as their absolute favorite and safest family member in the world. Because to you, taking an hour on a Sunday afternoon to deeply wipe down the floors and spray some fresh perfume is just keeping a nice clean house. But to them, this small confined indoor space is their entire universe. They do not have the outside world, so they rely entirely on this home to feel secure. And in that tiny universe, your messy, unwashed, completely natural human scent is the only thing that truly makes them feel like they are safely at home.
If your female cat starts acting completely different around you, do you actually know what she is trying to say? It might not be what you think. Yes, her sudden need for your constant attention is adorable, but behind that intense closeness, there is a much deeper emotional message that most owners completely miss. When a cat is pregnant, she feels incredibly vulnerable. If you misunderstand her signals, you could be ignoring the biggest plea for help of her entire life. People often assume she is just dealing with strange hormone changes or becoming overly demanding. But the reality of what she is doing is actually heartbreakingly sweet. So let us decode these strange new behaviors together, starting with why she suddenly refuses to leave you alone, even for a single second in the house. 1. She is not becoming clingy. You might notice she follows you from room to room, watching your every single move as if she is guarding you. Is she just hungry? Or maybe feeling a little sick?
Come on, it's the good stuff.
Many owners get slightly frustrated, thinking their fiercely independent cat has suddenly turned into a needy shadow. That is not clinginess at all. That is a pure survival strategy. In the wild, a pregnant cat seeks the safest possible environment to protect herself before giving birth. But inside your home, the environment is already safe. So instead of seeking a secure location, She is seeking a secure person to be her ultimate protector. Researchers at Oregon State University found that cats form secure attachments to their owners, using them as a safe base in times of high stress and vulnerability. When her body is going through overwhelming changes, you are her anchor. She follows you because your presence physically lowers her stress and makes her feel brave. If she could put this feeling into words, it would sound like this. I feel vulnerable right now, and you are my strongest shield against the world. And by the way, if she suddenly starts stealing your laundry and hiding it in a dark closet, do not stop her. We will explain why later. 2. The purring is not just happiness. Has she been purring much louder and more frequently than usual, especially when she presses her body against your side, you probably assume she is just extremely content about becoming a mother. But a cat's purr is a highly complex biological tool, not just a simple smile. Researchers at the University of Sussex discovered that cats can embed a high-frequency cry inside their normal purr to trigger a nurturing response in their humans. This is known as a solicitation purr. It sounds more urgent and demanding, almost like a human baby crying, designed specifically to get your immediate care. A pregnant cat uses this specialized sound because she feels physically uncomfortable and anxious. She is actively asking for your reassurance during a highly stressful time. She does not just want a quick scratch behind the ears. She is using her most powerful vocal tool to pull you closer for emotional support. If she could translate that intense, vibrating hum into English, it would sound exactly like this. I am nervous right now, so please, just comfort me. The best thing you can do is stay completely still and gently stroke her back. Do not push her away, even if she feels heavily demanding. If learning this makes you feel a deeper connection to your cat, hit like and subscribe so we can help more owners understand their hidden language. 3. She is marking you as family, not property. You might notice her aggressively rubbing her cheeks and head all over your hands and your legs. Most people read this common behavior as a territorial claim. They assume she is just wiping her scent on you, like you are a favorite scratching post. That is a total misunderstanding of feline society. This intense headbutting and rubbing is a behavior called allo rubbing, which only happens between highly bonded individuals. Animal behaviorists explain that cats have scent glands on their cheeks and forehead. When they rub against you, they are actively mixing your two scents together. For a pregnant mother, establishing this shared group scent is absolutely critical. She is preparing a safe environment for her incredibly vulnerable babies to be born. By covering you in her unique pheromones, she is officially declaring that you are part of her core family unit, and her kittens will trust you. If she could speak, she would be telling you this. We share one scent, and we are one pack, and you will help protect my babies. So always let her finishing rubbing her face on you. It is a deeply sacred ritual that confirms your status as her most trusted family member. 4. She is not just resting on you. Have you noticed she suddenly prefers sleeping directly on your chest or lap instead of her usual cozy spot? You might easily assume she is simply stealing your body heat. After all, every owner knows that cats love finding the absolute warmest places in the entire house. But this is not just about staying cozy. Her own body is going through massive physical changes, and she desperately needs a source of absolute physical stability. Feline biologists explain that deeply bonded cats will physically sync their breathing and heart rates with their favorite humans to regulate stress and perfectly control their body temperature. By pressing her heavy body firmly against your chest, she is actively using your steady, rhythmic heartbeat to calm her own nervous system and find absolute total peace. You are essentially serving as her physical anchor. She is trusting you to help her prepare her small body for the immense and exhausting task of giving birth. If she could translate her feelings into our language, it would sound like this.
Good night.
I am exhausted, and your steady heartbeat tells me that we are entirely safe. So let her rest there as long as you possibly can, because very soon she will start testing your dedication in a completely different and louder way. 5. She is testing your response to her cries. Has she started meowing at you loudly from across the house for absolutely no obvious reason at all. You check her food bowl, you check her water, and everything is completely fine. It can be incredibly confusing and sometimes even a little bit annoying to hear. Most owners just think she is being bossy or complaining about her changing hormones. But she is actually running a highly calculated and vital security check on you. Behavioral researchers have confirmed that adult cats developed specific human-directed vocalizations to communicate their urgent needs to us, and they never use these sounds with other cats. As her due date gets closer and closer, she urgently needs to know that her chosen protector is paying very close attention to all of her sudden signals. Every single time she cries out from another room, she is actively checking to see if you will immediately drop what you are doing just to find her. She is mapping out your exact level of responsiveness. If she could speak, she would be asking you this one critical and heartbreakingly vulnerable question right now. If she could translate her demanding meows into words, it would sound like this. When the time comes and I am entirely helpless, will you come to save me? 6. The hidden fortress. This brings us back to the strange behavior I mentioned at the very beginning of this video. She is preparing for something massive. If you catch her stealing your dirty socks, dragging soft blankets, or moving her favorite toys into a dark, quiet closet, you should absolutely not stop her. Many tired owners mistakenly think their pregnant cat is suddenly becoming completely destructive, hoarding random things for no reason, or actively trying to ruin their freshly washed laundry. But this is actually a highly critical maternal instinct known as nesting. She is actively building a perfectly secure fortress for her soon-to-be-born kittens. Feline behaviorists explain that pregnant cats experience a massive surge in maternal hormones, driving them to find the most protected and isolated spot available in the house. But there is a very specific and deeply emotional reason why she is actively choosing to steal your personal, unwashed clothing to build this secret hidden nursery. A newborn kitten is completely blind and deaf for the first 2 weeks of its life. Their only possible way to survive and find milk is by following scent. By carefully lining her nest with your used clothes, she is intentionally surrounding her incredibly vulnerable babies with your exact personal scent right from the very beginning. She is silently teaching her new babies, from their very first breath, that your unique smell means absolute safety, continuous warmth, and ultimate protection against the world. If she could somehow speak, she would look directly at you and say this: I am building our nursery, and it needs to smell exactly like you. So please let her keep that stolen sock, and never ever force her out of the quiet hiding spot she has so carefully chosen for her family. Because a pregnant mother cat does not just evaluate her physical environment when preparing for birth. She deeply and critically evaluates the people living inside of it. When she constantly follows you around the house, purrs loudly against your resting chest, and builds her secret nest in your clothes, she is making the ultimate choice. She did not just find a safe place to have her fragile kittens. She found a completely safe person. And out of everyone in the world, she chose you.